now I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern-ish, and we talk about guns for an hour. And tonight, seeing PBR was over on Gun Channel, sent him a link, he's available, and we figured we'd talk subguns. I found that cool picture of, I guess it's Soldier Fortune magazine, and used it for the thing today, and we were chatting about it, and sent some links out to old fogies, or if anybody wants to chat about subguns, let us know on the Gun Channel side, and we'll chat subguns. So this is a show where we get together and we chat about guns each night, and if you'd like to join in, like I say, let us know over on the Gun Channel side. So we got a couple people joining us. Dano jumped in from Illinois. Thanks for joining.
So I had to unmute myself there. Thanks for giving me an invite.
Oh, and then PDR. Jumped in from Oregon, that's how it's pronounced. Thanks for joining.
No problem.
So yeah, we were. I'm trying to figure out how to get this thing to show up. Now it won't. Like, I guess maybe if I refresh, I'm trying to get it to like pause. It won't do it. Like to show me the dang image, it won't do it. So
how many tabs you got open this time?
2. Literally nothing, but it's just that see, whenever I refresh over here, it just starts going into the show. Like I can't get it to not go into the damn show. So I'll quit trying, and we'll just look at it on Gun Channels. So this is that thing. What happens if I do this? Oh yeah, look at that. That works, right? So we were debating, is this a 10 or an 11? So we know it's a Mac. I don't think it's tall enough. It could be that the picture is squished, so that could be screwed.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
I think it's. I think you're right. It's an 11 because, like you said, it doesn't have the step down suppressor.
Yeah, the 45 can's like kind of big here, steps down. Now they got. What do you think this is? Tape or paper? It's definitely not a fabric. It looks like they maybe used a duct tape or some kind of tape that's semi-rigid on their gear here and on there.
I'm thinking like a cardboard disposable tube.
Oh, no. This is a real can. This is legit.
Well, no, I know the can is. No, I mean just the covering. Just because it's white. And
see how it's like LBS or whatever back here? That's Alice, right? So canvas. We know what Alice is. So those are canvas. This is old. So this is canvas, not nylon. And that looks like a piece of tape. And then a piece of tape going this way. Can you see my mouse? And then like a tape on the shoulder pads here. So that's why I'm thinking maybe just 3 or 4 pieces of tape. You can almost see like going around here and around here.
But the adhesive would burn when it gets really hot.
Yeah,
as well as it doesn't come off easy. It tends to bake itself onto the suppressor.
I doubt they care, but no, you're right. It probably would, and it would discolor right away. So maybe it is some kind of fabric. Maybe it's asbestos. It's back in the 70s or something, probably.
Yeah, some sort of asbestos sleeve.
Anyway, kind of neat. I don't know how that guy jammed them. Like, I don't even. These are like gloves for like cutting wood. I don't know how he jammed that thing into that trigger guard. It certainly didn't just fit in there. It had to be some sort of a,
For the picture, job is safety's job 3.
Now with an open bolt, what happens when you jab a big old glove like that into the trigger of an open bolt?
Kaboom!
Oh no! Kaboom a whole bunch of times, and that's why they made open bolt. Not cool, but
yeah, he's gonna run through that whole mag.
You put a little bit of pressure, that would definitely induce a bump style situation, and you'd empty that mag. So those things are super fast, like great.
Are you saying that glove should be declared illegal?
It would be if Trump knew about this image. That's why we can't let Trump watch our show tonight. Now here's the next question: what is this dude? What's going on with this picture? What clues do we have to know what this dude is?
His beret, but I don't know what that flash is. It's not green beret. It's
correct. You're definitely correct.
I'm guessing he's SAS.
Nope.
Yeah. The other thing that tells me what he isn't, not so much what he is the length of his sideburns.
Oh, that's a good question. That's an excellent point. But again, non-standard grooming practices are standard on special operations units of all types because you have to blend in with your situation and A lot of times hair length is a cultural thing. You're not a man if you don't have hair, so you can't instruct men if you aren't a man, you know. So that's a good point though. And this is in the 70s when I doubt grooming standards were up to like worried about people's feelings and cultures and shit. So this is probably, I know what it is, but at least I suspect I know what it is. I put it little so that people could see, because every time I hover over it, it screws with it. But I did a little bit of research. But you know, it's not SAS because anybody who speaks English, our tabs are on the left eye, over our left eyes. Everybody else puts their shit on the right. Well, no, nobody really puts it over the right. That's why it was, I'm pretty sure it's French Foreign Legion. They usually wear it a little back further, but they're weird. They don't have really the same kind of uniforms as everybody else. They kind of do their own thing. But their thing is sort of like a flamey looking thingy with like a ring around it and a thing on the side, and it kind of lines up. It's just that normally they wear it way over on the side of their head, but maybe for the picture or something, or just this guy decided to wear it that way. But they wear a green beret, and that looks green. It's just that they wear a piece of chunk of metal on it instead of a flash and an insignia, and they put it over their right eye.
As well as you don't wear your dress cover when you're out in the field.
Yeah,
unless you're a green beret, that is not a dress cover. A beret is worn in battle. That's when Green Berets started wearing them.
We already clarified he's not an American, so he's not a Green Beret.
No, but you're suggesting it as if in this country we don't wear our berets in the field. The berets were worn in the field until 1961, until Kennedy said.
Well, not your Class A stuff.
It's not a Class A. A beret is outside the standard uniform, and it wasn't until 1961 that it was even authorized to be worn on a uniform. They would wear it in the field. It was worn in Nam. That's where it came from. But anyway.
Yeah, but what if they lost their hat?
You don't fucking lose your beret.
Yeah, that's one other reason. Yeah, a lot of armies wear berets in the field, and that's why so many British tankers died during World War II, because they all wore berets instead of helmets.
All right, well, let's talk subguns. The Mac. So I'm going to assume French Foreign Legion are just rogue, carrying whatever they want, right? Trained with whatever. They're not really French, right?
Now they're under the French army, but back then, I can't remember when they tried to assassinate the French president, but after that they got brought under the French army rather than being their own entity.
It is a completely unique arm of any military that I can think of, as far as a current modern day, 1900s military, where they had a branch that was exclusively dedicated to outside the mother country, never to necessarily serve at home.
Well, that's all different now.
Right, but I'm saying that's what, but like the Germans with their colonies didn't do it. The English with their colonies didn't do it. I mean, they had the British Army that would go abroad and do it. The Germans had the German Army that would go abroad and do it. But the French had a different way of doing it that also had a completely different training, completely different personnel, completely different way of going about it, and it made sense for them. It just, in some ways, I'm surprised that other militaries of the world for foreign wars didn't pick up some of the concepts of the French Foreign Legion.
Didn't we though? Didn't we have the Flying Tigers? And didn't we? I know guys who flew in prior to World War II from the United States for Canada in World War II in England.
Yeah, but that wasn't American. I mean, the American government gave them the okay to fly in
Flying Tigers. China.
Yeah, Flying Tigers. I'm trying to remember their actual name, but they weren't part of the government at all.
And I guess part of the reason is that, at least as America, we've never been a traditional empire, and therefore we couldn't have an external-only military to rule over our colonies, because we don't have colonies technically. Where France did.
That's true. Like literally colonies, right? Okay, so Mac, where do you guys rank Mac 1 to 10? In general, all the Macs, I guess. the real ones, Dano.
Are we comparing it to other sub guns? Are we comparing it to just open bolt guns?
Not open bolt. So let's compare it to other sub guns so that they're in a class of them, you know, with the same, not like against an M16 or something. So other sub guns, where would you put them at?
I've never fired one, so I'm going to pass. I know that's weak.
You can have an opinion, though. We only got 3 people in here.
Well, you know, in some ways, there was a predecessor or two, but it was certainly the most prolific style of firearm that there has been. And that says something all by itself.
So, Night Strike, you just jumped in, but you're listening. Where do you throw max in as far as sub guns, 1 to 10?
I'm not sure. Wasn't one of them 45 and the other one was like 380 or 9mm?
All 3, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
10.
Okay. I'm down with the 45 Mac, but I don't like the 9mm or the 380.
So 1 to 10.
I don't know which model it is. That's the problem.
No, I'm saying on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank the max compared to other?
All the models together.
All the models together. I give it about a 4.
Ooh. And then what was Daniel's number?
I didn't give it a number, but I'll call it an 8.
Okay, and then PBR, where are you throwing it back?
I've fired one, and I don't know, 5 or 6, somewhere in the middle. Out of the handful of sub guns I fired, it was not the best, but caveat, like, cool factor, it's way higher. I don't know, there's something about them that is just, even though they're not the greatest, they're really super cool.
Well, that makes me want to go grab my picture somewhere. I keep putting this picture up that I got where I took a MAC-10, a full auto 45 apart. Here it is.
So,
and,
PBR, let me ask you a quick question on your rating. How was the muzzle rise on the one that you shot? Excessive? Mild?
It's the stock is kind of shitty, and there's not a lot to hold on to. So it's not the worst. It's not bad, but it's not good. It moves around. It's hard to hit.
Yeah,
because it kind of reminds me, although I've never shot it, but when I look at it, because I have shot a Glock 18, which is like all over the place.
I fired a Mac 11. I haven't fired the 10, but I've also fired like a grease gun, and that was like easy. I was just like,
oh yeah,
it's super easy to keep on target.
The grease gun is by far the other extreme of the most controllable, but it's also the slowest cyclic rate of fire.
Yeah.
It's a ton. It's almost like a buggy going down the road. I mean, right. It's great for that slow rate of fire, but what it loses is its suppressive fire capability because of it.
I don't know about that, but
yeah. You're crazy. So the Mac, I'm giving it a 10 because it is the pinnacle. It's the awesomest of all subguns. The Thompson is right there with it, right? Because it's the first and it's awesome also. But the Mac is awesome. So this is a full auto Mac 10, 45 ACP from Ingram. A friend of mine owns it, and taking it all apart. So there's the lower chassis receiver, I guess, which is just a bunch of piece of metal folded into a taco shape. A couple of pins and a trigger group, very simple. If I had a down picture, it'd be very, very simple. Then a little tube, which is the grip, a little piece of plastic to make it a little bit more ergonomic. It's all wire. The stock is all kind of wire, just feeds in there. This is, again, just some stamped metal with a little piece of trunnion up here that's a piece of milled metal that the little, 3-inch barrel, 2-inch barrel sticks into. And then this giant piece of milled metal is the bolt. And it's an open bolt, so there's just a firing pin like over here, and the fire control group is what keeps it from just going off every time you load it. So yeah, when you think about this, it's all the mass of the gun really. There's just a little bit of mass right here, but the rest of this is like an empty aluminum can, and then this is all the mass, and it's going to basically just be sitting in here going back and forth like 3 inches or something, however long this, not even as long as this spring probably. by the way, we were talking about AKs, and here's a gun that needs its buffer in here. Like this gun will kill itself if it doesn't have that buffer, and these expire. You have to change them. Anyway, this thing is crazy recoil impulse. One of the funnest things about it, and it's a challenge, just like having, I don't know if anybody's played with remote control cars, like, or one of those quad airplane drone things. The challenge is to learn how to play with it and master it and shoot it. So just the experience of the recoil impulse on a Mac is awesome. The fun of it, you can't shoot a Mac and not grin. It's just so fun to shoot a little machine like this. Its rate of fire is massive. It's super fast, so it just pours out lead like a hose, which is super fun. And you got this little strap.
But militarily, that's super ineffective.
Okay, whatever. We're talking about the gun as far as the gun, though. And there's more than just the military role. Obviously, it didn't fill the ultimate military role or anything. But
that's why it was designed.
Gun. I don't care.
Okay.
What does that matter? You got to put the set and setting. Now we're in.
I mean, versus a gun that was designed for hunting versus a gun that was designed for competition. I'm saying for what it was designed for, it did not. It was not
you can put that in your criteria. I'm including the criteria that this is a gun that's got it's 100% American. The U.S. Everything about it is U.S. And the history of it is that the gun was made and it wasn't successful. Like you said, it wasn't just, for what it was designed for. There wasn't appeal. So it was never successfully financially or as a platform, but it moved on and it had its role, and then it became a culprit of the antis. And again, it's just a neat little gun, and it's fun to shoot. It's got an interesting history. It's in our culture. It's like an AK or an M16. It's iconic. Its shape and everything, and they're obtainable. You can get real ones. You can get full, transferable ones. You can get open bolt pistols that are a lot of fun. You can get the semi-auto closed bolt versions now, and now that I can't think of the name. I'll think of the name in a second. I can't think of it, but the place in Georgia that's making them now has improved them, where they took the bolt carrier off the top, or the carrier knob or whatever off the top, put it on the side, so you can start to put optics on top. And the platform's still alive, and you can buy a piece of it as a full auto transferable from the beginning, like literally maybe even made for military contracts or something, or potentially all the way up to all the middle stuff of all the various open bolts. Anyway, so I just think overall I really, really, really like it, and I'm giving it a 10.
Oh, and I'm not saying you shouldn't give it a 10. I was just surprised by some of the things you said, because when you balanced it against a Thompson, which I have fired, which actually has a stock and a length of pull so you can actually aim it, and doesn't have a cyclic rate that's out of control, yet it's high enough.
Depends on which Thompson. The old, I can't remember which model. I think it's...
Well, the 28 has it doesn't use the brass anymore, I think it was. So the
28 or the 21 has a super high cyclic rate.
Well, I think it's the 21 has the piece of brass in it still, and then when they got rid of that piece of brass during the war or something, then or for the easier to make or something, then it adjusted all that. But
yeah, I'm not sure which variation was the one I shot, but it was significantly higher than the grease gun, yet significantly, I can't over exaggerate, significantly lower than the Glock 18. Yet because you could shoulder it and it had that higher rate, you could not only have suppressive fire, but you could have effective suppressive fire. And I say that because it was designed as a military gun in that field.
Was it Parkerized or was it blued?
Honestly, I was in so giddy I couldn't remember.
Oh, you talking about in Tulsa?
Yes.
Blued, I'm pretty sure blued. Didn't strike me as a old metal gun.
Huh. So it's probably it's a pre World War II then.
Oh, I don't think that. No.
Okay, then it's M1A1.
Yeah, it held the drum mag or the stick. So
okay, then it's not M1A1 because M1 it deleted the option to hold the
drum.
Yeah.
So
it could be a 28A1 or it could be like a 28.
They call it a Chicago typewriter. They call it Thompson Tommy gun, a Chicago typewriter, more than just because the gangsters in Chicago used. I think that was part of it, but because you could literally write your name with it. That was like a thing back in the day. You remember the cartoons or like movies and stuff? Like, I don't think of it when I think of all the sub guns, because the Thompson being the first sub gun, sub caliber ammunition in a machine gun, sub machine gun. So pistol caliber ammo in a machine gun. It's a huge rifle. It's like as big as an M1 carbine almost, especially with its stock on it, and it weighs a ton. It's huge. It's all milled, massive, massive, heavy gun, and it's shooting a 45, a decent caliber, but with its huge bolt and everything, it absorbs a lot of that.
The war it was designed to go through was a trench war, not a distant war.
Oh, no, I know. I'm just saying, but I disagree with as far as its rate of fire. Now, I don't know if at least I don't remember in my recall that I shot a Thompson right next to a grease gun. I typically don't shoot grease guns. I have shot them. For some reason, I just like Max and stuff like that better, Uzi or something.
Something positive I do have to say about the Mac that I think is, I'm going to say, similar to a Glock in one aspect, and I think it's engineering-wise is something that's absolutely beautiful, and that is the simplicity of the design. How few parts this has for being built when it was built, as compared to other guns that tried to do things like the Thompson that had a bazillion parts to it, which also created a bazillion things to go wrong. This one was very simplistic, and the beauty was in its simplicity.
Exactly. And that's one of the things I really, really appreciate about it, is that it's like kind of like our AK-47 over here. The way it was manufactured and created was with the manufacturer in mind, as opposed to let's design a perfect machine and then figure out how to make it, which sometimes happens. I mean, that definitely changed when the Industrial Revolution happened, but the Thompson is the beginning of that change, or towards the beginning at least, 1911 or whatever, right? 1909 or something. And, the Mac is 70 something, I think.
Right.
So I had this picture of the grease gun, pretty similar, really. It's just a tube with a big heavy mass, and it's just a Sten or a Mac, I guess. They're really not that different. It's just a big, longer tube. And then a longer barrel, and then really very similar. Otherwise, the stamping, I guess, for the receiver is just bigger, so there's more of it,
right.
So it has more mass, and you can tell the difference in the recoil rods. There is an indication of how far that bolt is traveling, and that giant mass traveling that much distance, is a slower cyclic rate, you would think. But yeah, these things are pretty quick. But
now,
these things are.
For anyone in the panel, do you know if they modified the weight of the bolt to modify the rate of fire or was it just simply one or two generations of the grease gun and then they were done?
They only had two versions of it. There's the M3 and the M3A1, but they used them from like World War II up until I don't know, the Gulf. One of my sergeants in the Army was in the Gulf War, the first one. And he was a tanker, and he said they used to have them. They'd be driving around M1 Abrams with grease guns. That was their personal defense weapon.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't, for a number of years there weren't a lot of American options to fit inside of a tank.
There still ain't. What do we got? So we were kind of talking about that off air, and I don't know where we want to go with this. I think we've talked about the cover of that show or whatever enough, right? We're talking grease gun, or we're talking submachine guns, and now you just brought up something that we kind of talked about with the PDWs, right? So inside a tank, I've never been inside a tank. I'm too big. They probably would never shove me in a tank, I don't think. But you don't have an M16 in there, right? And even a small.
Nowadays you do. Yeah, but they usually carry M4s now, or pistols.
Pistols I can understand, but even an M4, even the smallest AR pistol really isn't going to work good in a tank, I wouldn't think. Where a grease gun is small enough to at least be, I would think, practical in a tank situation, no?
I mean, you're really not using, or you're really not like using it inside. It's for bailing out. But
it'd
yeah,
be a Red Dawn scenario when the freaking somebody jumps on top of you and is going to try to throw something in your turret, which is BS because you can't just open a turret from the outside, right? Or I mean a flap door or whatever they call them, trap doors.
Unless it's unless you have it secured. But I mean, honestly, yeah, I wouldn't. If somebody's on top of the turret, I'd just like like open it a little bit and like just drop a grenade and close it.
Yeah.
I'll get them off really quick.
You know, I've known tankers over the years, but I never sat down and talked to them about like what. I'm assuming they have training for what to do to get people off your fucking tank, right?
Oh yeah.
And they got these little things, but I don't know what those are. If though there must be like chafe or some equivalent like on tanks, so that when there's a missile shooting at them, they can try to not get hit. Because there's always these like little things that look kind of like claymores.
Yeah, they have smoke and chaff and whatever. But I don't know. I mean, you could always just drive underneath something low. I'll knock anybody off.
Drive through a car wash. That's not always available though.
There you go.
So Pants is saying I would totally buy a Mac. I would totally buy a Mac if I could afford it. So I could put a whatever upper on it. And
Oh, the Lage upper.
so that's a nice thing about Macs. Going back to Macs, I'm guessing this is what he's talking about. You buy a Mac and it's, well, last I knew somebody bought one. It was like $7,000 for a full auto transferable.
They're the least expensive of all the NFA items, or one of the least expensive for a machine gun. That is.
You definitely be, and the way that it's rebuildable, you can still get use out of it. It's not like something that really you're buying an exhausted thing. Perhaps this is something that can be replenished.
Picture you showed earlier, it has a lower receiver basically, and now this guy, I think the company's called Lage or something like that, and they make a upper that attaches to it to make it a little more. I mean, I don't know. I guess it lowers the cyclic rate. It uses a magazine that's outside the pistol grip. I think they use Suomi mags or Suomi drums. Or I guess there's different versions. I don't know all the details. I've just seen the guys from In Range use them. But apparently now they're making one that's going to be rifle caliber.
Well, that's weird. Oh, so you mean it's just using the trigger control group?
It's all it's using is a trigger control. That's all it's using.
Okay, that's something a little different. One of the things that, because Macs have been transferable, and they even when before '86 they were just an affordable gun to buy. They're stamped and they're neat, and they, like I say, they're really fun to shoot. It's like driving a motorcycle. You don't drive a motorcycle because it's practical, or I mean, maybe somebody could justify it for like the gas mileage or something, but it's unsafe. So you're really driving a motorcycle because you want to, because it's different than driving a car. You're enjoying the experience of getting from one place to the other. That's sort of what a Mac is, right? It's just another type of firearm to shoot. It's different than a lever action. It's different than a revolver, right? So the things that I've seen for them were to hot rod them back in the days, like the 80s, 90s, were uppers that would tweak both fast and slow. So you could get a boom, 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 boom kind of rate of fire out of a 9mm, put a little, I don't know, what is that? Like a little, what's that word? So rate limiter in there, or to go the other way and chop everything down and make everything lightweight. And man, they just empty a mag. So like Dan was talking about muzzle rise, every machine pistol that I'm aware of has a rate limiter. It has to, because the cycle rate, whatever the distance is so small, it would just empty the magazine on the way on the first, the first recoil impulse. You would just empty the magazine into your face all the time. Like I'm pretty sure all pistols have that. So they would tweak with the weight of the buffer of the mass of the we call it the bolt, and put different uppers on it. And the uppers looked a little bit different so that they could basically give you some place to hold on to. Because like I said, some of them would speed it up and then slow it down. And then you'd go to like a big sandy or just go out in the desert. And now when you're blowing through your ammo, you can kind of tweak it a little bit. Sort of like people tweak their cars, I suppose, right? Or tweak their computers.
Right.
But that's certainly an option because it's such a simple device. I imagine, like you're saying, you can create an upper that can do anything or use any inexpensive or common mag, and then use this thing to shoot it. And then you're buying one lower, basically one trigger control group that's a full auto registered item, and then shooting all different kinds of things off that platform.
I suppose half of its undoing, and only half, is the fact that it is so simple, being open bolt, and so reliable as it's in its simplicity, is that when the antis fully got ahead of it and realized, gee, they had this unbelievably simple design here. How simple would it be to modify it? And was part of its undoing, as far as us in the civilian world.
Are you talking about a semi-auto open bolt?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother discussion, really, because the open bolts, a lot of them were sub guns, but there's other open bolts, I think. And maybe they're not, maybe they are all sub guns or just semi-auto versions of sub guns. But yeah, there's some mechanical things about an open bolt that the government did not like, I guess.
And I think it goes to the simplicity of the mechanical design.
So, what's everybody's favorite submachine gun you fired?
Exactly. I was just about to ask that. So since you guys kind of rated the Mac so low, like you just said, what are we going? So Dano, favorite?
Thompson.
Okay. Night Strike?
Skip.
What? You haven't seen that movie? I invited him in before. He's like, I don't know anything about this movie. Like, what are you talking about? We're not even talking about a movie.
No, I haven't fired any sub guns. Not any, not any fully auto.
You're allowed to
Yeah,
like stuff that you haven't shot, right?
Right.
All right. Well, if you want to skip, you don't have to answer. So PBR, answer your own question. What are you gonna say? Or I guess that's not fair. I'll answer mine. Dude, I really, really like the Mac. I think, like I just petitioned it. I think that's still my favorite. I'd have to think really hard. I've shot a lot of them. We have a guy out here who is just awesome, an awesome, awesome dude. He does Marine foreign weapons with familiarization. So oftentimes he makes his entire collection, or like big chunks of his collection, which is impressive, available to friends and people to shoot. And I've had opportunity to shoot a lot of stuff that way. And so much of it is kind of clunky, and a lot of the war stuff was made quickly and inexpensively, and like just get it over there and kill Nazis already, you know. So it's got its history and it's got its stuff, and its simplicity is amazing. But they're really simple, and the new ones, I mean H&Ks and stuff, I want to like them, but man, the cost and stuff, it's like they're not even obtainable. So I'm still going to stick with my Mac 10, I think.
I think part of the current going to the cost issue is that because they're making it with a customer that has unlimited pockets.
H&K, you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, this gun was made to, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. I've read
well, because time was of the essence, as well as war materials, steel and precious metals and things like that were all of needed to hurry up and make a plane, make a ship, make a make a gun.
Well, when you're talking the Sten and the grease gun, yes, but the Thompson was made kind of before the war, and he was farting around making a bunch of complicated gun. And I think that the Mac was a reaction to that overcomplicated Thompson, right? And then, so I don't think it was a quick just make something Sten gun. I think it was sort of an attempt to make a AK version of the Thompson, you know, wood and metal gun.
Well,
it was also the Reising.
It was simply, how simple can I make it?
Oh,
it's not a rifle, so it can't be. You can't make a mini AK. But how simple can I make it and have it still be reliably, extremely reliable and extremely durable, in which it does both wonderfully.
Yeah, seriously. And that's one of the reasons I think it's just such a fascinating little machine. It's like a really good power drill or something. Like you can do so much. Anyway, PBR, what is your favorite one?
I've probably the MP5 to be boring, but it was the easiest to shoot. It was the easiest to hit something with. I mean, I've shot a P90. That was okay, but it was just that caliber is just awful. And Uzi was pretty cool, nice and heavy, really robust, easy to control. I don't know, probably, but the MP5 just, of course, is. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it was the best.
MP5 is definitely like driving an old Porsche, right? It's like tight and it can do everything. It's a little bit like you got to have a muscle still. It's not like all powered and easy, but you could definitely do stuff with it. So it's like 1970s gear. Like,
but going to the cool factor, I put the Mac way above the, you know, the MP5 is a really great tool, but it's kind of soulless. You know what I mean? It's not like a grease gun or a Mac or, I don't know, like a Carl Gustav that have like just a super, like, you know, have a super cool factor, kind of like a mythic. factor to it. Whereas MP5 is just kind of like, a tool. It's not really that interesting.
It's like a lot of cops use the MP5 and like the SAS, but mostly cops, right? It's kind of like a FAL.
I shot mine when I was in the Army. It was I forgot who was using it, but we were at the range and they let us shoot them.
So we're getting answers out there. CZ Scorpion. So nice strike win like that. It's in 380. You want to say you didn't like 380?
It's in 32.
Oh,
it's in 32, and I like 32, so I like
the
32
32 is okay, but 380, hell no. Okay.
Yeah.
But a 9mm, hell no.
No 9mm. 32 is okay, and so is 45.
I like Gunpowder Beauty's answer. Her favorite is one of each. Nice.
Classic.
So
who has adopted the military version of the Scorpion?
Nobody. Russia back in the day.
Yeah,
Okay.
Nobody really. They tried to make
only
it
the Czechs.
They tried to make it a PDW kind of deal, but I think it got more use after, outside of military service with, rebels and whatnot, terrorists.
I'm just wondering as far as a track record of durability and reliability under hard use. And I'm not saying it does or doesn't, I'm asking.
Oh, does it work? Scorpions?
No, under hard use in a war.
Sure, because they're still kicking around. I mean,
well, yeah, but there's a lot of things kicking around that you wonder how these things are left over from World War I just simply because they didn't throw them away.
Oh no, they're hardcore. I've seen them. They're nice, strong. They're like AKs and Makarovs and Tokarovs. I mean, they're that kind of gun.
The Czechs make really. I mean, for the most part,
more like a VZ78. Yeah, they're good.
Well, we are talking about the Scorpion VZ61, right?
I don't know. We're talking about the one that's on my screen. A Scorpion, like a real.
That's the VZ61.
Yes.
I was thinking of a different model, so never mind.
Are you thinking of one of these kind of things, Dano? One of these new ones?
Yeah.
The new Scorpions.
Nobody uses this that I know of except for in TV and movies, maybe.
Yeah, I thought it just came out 5-8 years ago.
Yeah,
No.
I mean, maybe some police force over there might have bought it. I mean, it's made by CZ. It's a good gun, right?
Now, maybe it uses the same action, so I don't know.
Yeah, the VZ61 is the first
Scorpion.
The first weapon by that company to get that name.
Because that would have been 1961, the year of my birth.
I think there's actually. Yeah, I don't know when they designed it. I don't know the details.
I'm not sure his birth date either, so we'll have to do some research.
In the 50s, and it was originally the Model 59, but they released it and completed it in 61.
The year of my birth.
Yes.
Then we got M40. Isn't that what we're just looking at? Oh, no, we're looking at a grease gun.
It was like a grease gun.
Which is in what caliber?
45.
45.
There you go.
The one I shot was the A1, which doesn't have that cool little like lever charging handle. I don't know what it is about that little, like, if you look at them, the difference is there's a couple differences between the M3 and M3A1, but the biggest is they deleted the charging handle and instead you
use your finger.
Yeah, use your finger on this like hole in the bolt, which I don't know. It's kind of
like, you mean like a grease gun?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking on a grease gun. They took out like an external bolt. Here, I think on his picture, you can see.
Right.
Just
I fired. I had to stick my finger in there to pull the bolt back.
That's the A1.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
The M3 has a ratcheting like lever that you pull. It's like it's not like a normal charging handle. It like rotates. Like it's weird. It's G had a picture of one. And
also, the one I fired, unlike the one that Eric has there in the picture, did not have a trumpet barrel.
Trumpet.
It's a multiple device or whatever you want to call that.
That picture, that's a flash hider. That picture at the top in the red, that's a M3 in the corner.
This one?
No, the top corner. Go scroll the way up, right there. That's a M3. You can see the little charging handle lever on the side, and when it like rotates. It's freaking.
Oh, it's like a crank or something.
Yeah,
like
when you charge it, you're cranking it rather than pulling it straight back.
Interesting.
It's
And then
super cool.
another difference from visually is this little thingy on the stock is a magazine loader, and you can see it visually. It's not on the old ones.
No. The safety is the dust cover also, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, because it's made for like people in war and not like at the freaking range.
If anybody's really into that particular firearm and wants to see it in a really cool old movie, there's a Steve McQueen movie called Hell is for Heroes, about a war. It's about Eastern Front, World War II, and he carries a M3 grease gun, not the A1, but an M3. And there's parts in the movie where he's cleaning it, and you see him taking it apart. He ends up like commandoing his magazines together. You know, it's pretty cool. Lots of grease gun, good shots of the grease gun in that movie.
So, what do you guys think of the Nazi grease gun, the MP40?
That's not well. The problem about the MP40 is it is a submachine gun and it isn't. It's more of a machine pistol because that's what the MP stands for.
No, it's a submachine gun. They just use different terminology.
I'm not going to use some Nazi freaking definition. This is the world's definition. It's a freaking machine.
Well, no, machine pistol is its own class.
No.
Yeah, and it includes having the magazine come up through the grip, I bet, or at least like controllable by one hand. You're not going to shoot.
Like the Beretta 93R.
They also called the Sturmgewehr when originally an MP.
Yep.
Yeah, you got a point there. They didn't know what the hell to call guns.
They were drinking that weird Nazi wine all the time. They just named things whatever they felt like it.
You know, they were drinking beer out of huge beer steins. You know, it's
so anybody gonna be an advocate for this one? Somebody on the YouTube side petitioned for this one. Anybody shot this one?
Meh, I haven't, but
no.
I don't know.
This is the kind of gun where if it's sitting on a big table with a bunch of other guns, I go to one of the other guns. So I don't think I've ever shot one. I don't think I've ever shot one. I don't know if they've ever.
I have a friend that's got 3 of them, believe it or not. But all 3 transferable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's got an insane collection of.
How many millimeters is this? One of them 9mm guns?
They're all 9mm. I think it's 32 round magazine.
I got a friend that has bought one of those reproduction ones. It's just semi-automatic, so.
Yeah, it's like Bakelite. The bottom piece of it's Bakelite. They're kind of cool, but I've never fired one.
Yeah, I mean it's cool that you can get a semi-auto one, but you can't extend the the whole. If you get the pistol version, you can't extend the stock, so it's just fixed. So, yeah, not my thing.
All right, we can use this little miniature thingy here to be an example. So we've talked about the Mac, which isn't on here, and we've talked about this Nazi one, and we talked about the MP5 kind of. But MP5s, I mean, they're pretty fancy. They're like Legos. You can take out the trigger control group, right, or change out stuff, and they can be, there's a ton of them, like very short, long and short, different round like types of setups, so different stocks like this. I guess rifle calibers even. Are these even H&Ks? I mean, they're not MP5 anymore.
That's not MP5. That's a
33 in it.
That's a 33 or something along those lines.
What about a Sten gun? The British?
So the Sten is a super fun gun. When we talked about the grease gun, it's kind of like that, but
it's even simpler.
Yeah, Stens cost like $6 to make, they said, or something like that. They're a tube, and then they like added some stuff to the tube, but it's very simple.
I've heard a lot of bad things about them.
They're weird.
Now, are those pistol caliber as well, or
they're stupid 9mm? So wait, are they 9mm? Yeah, I think they're 9mm.
They're 9mm.
So they're weird. I gotta get a picture of one in parts somewhere. So the bolt is again huge, giant thing. And then literally nothing else. Nothing weighs nothing in this. It's a little short barrel. And the thing is, it's got that sideways magazine. That's the whole thing about the Sten. And that gives you a different way to hold it. So you're kind of, imagine, when somebody shoots the thing, you're kind of holding it at your waist with one hand. And then the other hand on the mag. Almost everybody ends up shooting it, from the hip kind of. And like this guy was holding it. So it does make it real easy to shoot it this way. And anyway, it's a fun gun. It empties really fast, and it's a really neat impulse. And these things used to be like the $6,000 range. I don't know where they're at now. There's a lot of Stens though. I mean, they've made these things. They were $7. They made them in the millions probably, right?
So again, if we put the grease gun at the bottom as far as slow rate of fire and I don't know what we would put at the top as far as excessive other than a machine pistol, where would the Sten fall in line with as far as rate of fire, muzzle rise?
Muzzle rise, there's none. It's a 9mm, a huge bolt. It's actually really controllable. So as far as speed, if 1 is slow and 10 is fast, 7, it's not the fastest. It doesn't empty before you can control it. You can do 3-round bursts with it. It's clunky. It's super clunky. You know, you can tell by looking at it. It's, you know, like you get used to it. It's like riding a bike or something. Like you get used to pulling the trigger on it and dropping 3 or 4 rounds. And the way that it's like dwell or whatever, its cyclic rate, you can kind of get it doesn't take but a mag or 2 and you're used to it.
Right.
Like you're saying, they're kind of crude. So sometimes you got to kind of hold the mag funny or something because they're old.
Yeah.
Ask about the muzzle rise, just because it seems like there's no material there to keep it from rising.
It's just because it's just a little weak 9mm. It doesn't rise very much. It's not as controllable as the 45 as the Thompson, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because the Thompson has a better cheek weld and it's not this goofy thing sticking out the side. Because you're also like trying to hold this thing up, which you're not used to on a gun.
Well, the British had this the Lancaster, which was like super freaking nice. Like it was like our Thompson. It was like really overbuilt and well made. And then they had the first iteration, which you can see there with the wood stock and the pistol grips.
Yeah.
And then basically they kept just stripping crap off of it until it was like, you know, bare bones.
$6.
But I've heard of a lot, like British soldiers. I mean, they would run away gun all the time. They would like, you pull the trigger and it would just keep firing until you let go of the trigger and the thing would still shoot. And actually, you know, I know there's actually like really well documented case, a documented case of a Sten not fire. Like I don't know if it jammed or it didn't fire or what happened, but his Sten submachine gun didn't work. It was during Operation Anthropoid, which is the assassination of Heydrich, I think his name was. During World War, I think, God, where were they? Yeah, it was the assassination of Heydrich, and I think they ended up throwing a grenade at him, and that like injured him. I think that's what happened. But yeah, the guy who was supposed to shoot him pulled out a Sten, aimed, pulled the trigger, and it clicked. That was it. So it was like, I don't know. They weren't that. I don't know. They weren't that good of a firearm from everything I read and heard from soldiers and whatnot.
Interesting.
Okay, so I guess we were on that a minute ago. We were on that picture. I guess I moved from it. I guess I did. Where I had this picture, right? So Chris Vector. Anybody shot a full auto Chris Vector yet?
No.
It's really neat. Really neat. In 45 ACP, I don't know if I've shot. I don't think I've shot the 9. I think they make a 9, but I've shot the 45 in full auto, and it does what it says. It's really neat. It's huge and weird. You know, I'm not saying I'd run around with it, but it is really neat to shoot it in full auto. So Dano's question is, there's no rise. It just sits there.
How'd you know I was going to ask that? Because there's almost no math there, and the fact that it looks like some weird Lego gun.
It looks weird. I'm not saying that I even love the idea. I mean, it's a neat concept. I wish they'd move from it and take from it and keep going, but they seem to like it. But
does it have a super high cyclic rate?
I don't remember it being super high. A little fast for a 45, I think. But imagine, well, I don't know. It's unique, you know, because it's throwing its mass or whatever it does over here, but not as high as fastest thing I've ever seen. No. I mean, you can definitely do a controllable 3-round burst in full auto, which is usually what I use to determine. Like, if you can pretty quickly burst it, then that's the kind of trigger and that's the kind of response that you want from a full auto, because you're never really pulling in full auto. You want full auto so that you can drop a couple of rounds real quick if you need to. And like what Dan was saying, suppressive fire or something, but you're not even, nobody's suppressive fire in like a whole magazine. That's ridiculous. So what makes it like a Sten is like kind of like riding a weird bicycle, like, you know, some odd bicycle your grandma had or something, you know, and you have to like kind of get on it. You know how a bicycle works, but not this bicycle. Like the pedals are all weird and the tires are wide or something, you know, and you're like having a struggle to get on it until you figure it out, and then it's no big deal. The MP5 is not like that. Like it's just super responsive. Like boom, you let go of the trigger, it's right there, and there you go. But with the Sten, let's say, or one of them old World War II guns, you let go of the trigger, it kind of takes until the next cycle of the bolt for the trigger to bounce back on you. Like, you know, it has to finish the process in order for the trigger to not be.
It's also closed bolt versus open bolt, which is makes a whole bunch of difference.
Yeah,
I found the grease gun to be almost difficult to control, because you would press and you would almost want to like lift up the barrel, like, what's wrong with the gun? It's not firing, and then boom, it would go.
And that's the other thing, kind of like turbo versus, I don't know, the other kind of car things that make it go fast. Like turbo requires the air to go through or something, and then compact, and then go. So it'd be like you turbo like takes a minute, right? So it's sort of like that with triggers, right? Or with types of, I guess, actions. I don't know what that's called. The type of.
It would be like turbo lag would be like the open bolt, where you have a brief moment of time before it actually gets going. But I don't know. I've fired a lot of open bolt weapons, and it's almost imperceivable. I mean, there is a second, but I'm not a second. It's like
it's there. It's just not there on an H&K, let's say.
Well, yeah, on the grease gun, I mean, it was unbelievably noticeable, even when other people were firing it, let alone when I fired it myself. And then you let off the trigger, but it's got to complete the stroke. So boom, there's another one coming out.
Exactly. That's the kind of thing. You're used to closed bolt, so I'm going to stop pulling the trigger, and it's going to stop shooting. Except on an open bolt, it's got to finish its cycle.
Right.
Yeah.
And being slow, you notice the time difference between, gee, my finger's off, but it went boom a half a second later.
So we got the iconic Uzi. Nobody shot an Uzi full auto before?
I have. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I really like them. I would put it in higher in my list, but for two things. There's 45 Uzis, but man, they're heavy. Like they're super heavy and they're kind of clunky. I like them, but you know, for me, they're like more like on that range, maybe like a 7. And a lot of that is history. Not a lot of that is the gun. I mean, the gun is good, and I like it and everything, but it's just old. So it's just too. It's like a Thompson. It does its job. It's a well-made, strong gun, but it's heavy, old.
So PBR, since you fired one before, and we've talked about various attributes of any submachine gun, what are the aspects of that Uzi that you felt made it between good and really excellent?
Just well built, you know. It
okay.
Even with the folding stock, well, it's
reliability.
It's a decent. The stock is not great, but it's better than like
any other. It's the best folding stock. Well, no, those mini Uzi folding stock I think is stronger, but it's, you know, it's around for 20 or something years before that. So
I mean, honestly, like if I had one, I'd probably ditch the folding stock and put the wood stock on it, just for, you know, because, you know, just for controllability and whatnot. But I don't know, I liked it. It's just, and like G just said, you know, the history is pretty awesome too.
Okay. Well, there's a difference between like I love the history of a lot of World War I and II guns, but that's different than me loving the gun separate from the history. Versus low muzzle rise, yet an acceptable rate of fire, yet extremely reliable and durable in the field. I can strip it down if it's all encased in mud and that Iraqi kind of sand that's almost like dust particles that gets in the frickin' everything, and I can rinse it off, I can re-oil it, I can put it back together, and it's going to run near to 100% as any gun can.
Well, that's the thing. Every sub gun was meant for that. They all were built to that spec, right? I mean, there's not like a recreational or like a hunting version, or
yeah, but they don't all necessarily reach that level of reliability.
Okay, like they didn't attain it. I was just
Right.
saying they're kind of built.
They were supposed to, sure. And any war gun is supposed to, but they don't. Or some don't.
It's got a pretty slow rate of fire too, which makes it easy to control. I never fired the mini or the micro. Like the mini is the one he's showing right there.
Yeah,
I think the mini is cooler to me. It just looks cool with that stock. But I think
better than the Uzi for sure.
No.
I think they have a higher rate of fire. The mini. I know the micro has a crazy rate of fire, but the mini it might have a higher rate of fire. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I believe the mini Uzi would be like a 10. Like the Uzi itself, 7, but the mini, the one in the medium size Uzi, oh man, that's like one of my dream guns. It only second only to the Mac. But
and there's also that badass fucking photo of the Secret Service.
Yeah, Reagan.
Dude, like just whipping it out of the suitcase. That's such a cool. That's just such an iconic photo.
Is that the Reagan assassination one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Assassination attempt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that guy's machismo blocked, like, you know, the bullet deflected it.
So this is the 3 of them compared, and they're all awesome, really. The minis or the macros or micros, I guess, are super cool, but these are the best for sure. It's a decent gun, and it's awesome and perfect size. Carry around.
I would be curious to see what the weight difference is between the Uzi and the micro, because I bet, the mini. I bet it's a lot. I bet it's a lot better in that smaller size.
Oh yeah. Oh.
So let me ask a question here. It's a variation of a question, G. Webbs. I think you answered. You asked everybody already, and you asked what was your favorite gun. My question is going to be, if you had to go to war tomorrow and you separated the history from including guns that are currently available today, what would be your sub gun of choice? Including
we missed 2, I think. Wait, I was missing that picture. We were missing something. What was on that damn picture? I lost that picture now.
There was that Heckler and Koch.
Is that one over here that was like a pistol-looking thing with a big?
Yeah, the P or whatever. I can't remember what it's called. It's.
But then you had also mentioned shooting the P90.
That's P90.
Has anybody shot a semi-auto P90 yet?
No.
PS90, I guess. So we know what we're talking about, though, right? I guess I'm still on the internet.
Yeah.
So that gun, is it a sub gun?
Depends on who you ask.
I hear people calling it a personal defense weapon instead.
Right. And for the purposes of my question, I'll include if it has let's say a mid-power cartridge in it, but form factor wise, it's still sub gun size.
So let's hit this one, because that's when we were looking at that little thing, I noticed that this one was missing, and I don't know anything about those others, and the other guns on that little mix weren't sub guns, they were rifles. So this one, though, if we consider it a sub gun because it's not a rifle, even though it wants to look like a rifle cartridge, it's a little puny, small bullet, smaller than anything else, right? Rifle wise, so it has to be a pistol, I would think. And they do make pistols that shoot it, and it's definitely not, it's a machine gun. So nobody's shot one of these semi-auto yet, even?
No.
Another one I fired was the real thing.
Oh, you did shoot a full auto one?
Yeah.
Okay, Daniel, you never shot a semi version of this?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so have you guys ever fiddled with one of the gun shop and shouldered it and like just gone through the manual of arms with it?
Just to shoulder it, not cycle it or anything.
Okay, so it's. I don't like the gun that much, but I like the gun a lot. It is just the coolest thing ever. It's Omni, whatever. Everything's on both sides. The weirdness of it and everything is totally unique. But PBR, you've shot it, it's amazing. It shoots like a squirt gun or like a beam gun or something. It's
got a high rate
recoil. Yeah,
high rate of fire with very little recoil and a big magazine. But I don't know. It was cool, but I wasn't that impressed. It was something about it just is weird. It was almost weird how mundane it was. It was just like
It's like an amazing scooter. Like, wow, if I was going to get a scooter, that's the scooter I'm getting. But I'm not looking for a scooter. Like, I'm not looking for a scooter.
Exactly. The caliber isn't very impressive unless you get the whatever that ammunition's called for it, the bullet, the armor piercing. But even then, I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, it was a long time ago. I'm trying to remember.
It's not considered a bullpup, is it?
I don't know what you consider that fucking thing.
It's like a cross between a subgun and a bullpup, technically.
Because it was my first impression, and the guy didn't say anything to me. He just said, "Yeah, you can shoulder it." And I put it up, and I thought it was a bullpup, so I'm not sure whether it is or not. But that was my first impression, and it's what I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It is definitely a bullpup. There's no question. It's a bullpup.
Yeah, I guess it is feeding from behind the trigger group.
But what I didn't like about it was, and it's a psychological thing, was suddenly the working parts of the gun that go backwards and forwards were a whole lot closer to my face, or at least I felt they were.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't like that feeling.
And if you open it, a heck of a lot of it's plastic. Like, Bob gets concerned about the receiver on a Glock. Like, there's chunks of that gun that are normally not plastic that are plastic, right?
The only thing that really tripped me out about it was the fact the rounds have to make a 90-degree turn in the magazine.
I think that's part of the coolest. It's like shooting. It's the closest thing to Starship Troopers there is.
No, it's cool, but like I always want, the magazine being, sometimes a weak link on a firearm. It tripped me out that the magazine had working, like actual more than just a spring and a follower. It had like working pieces inside of it. And that
I hear you.
You bang around a magazine too much, you're not taking care of your shit, and suddenly you got a jam factory going on.
I knew people that owned them, and two of the guys, they weren't the full owners, but they were SBRs, so they were little P90s or whatever, I guess. And the neat thing about that mag is because they're perpendicular 50-round mags, so in actually a smaller mag pouch than an AR mag pouch, you can have 100 rounds of that tiny little rifle ammo. And then the one guy was search and rescue, or whatever you call it, like going out on his horse and looking for people that were stranded out in the desert and whatnot. And whenever, they were in the areas where you'd bring it, they'd brought sidearms. So for him, it was like the perfect little PDW, right? It was kind of made for somebody on horseback who probably will never need it. But if you need it, you got something more than a rifle. And never heard any issue about mags or anything. So, I mean, not like he was rolling around doing operations or anything, but some amount of real work with one, and no issues. And we definitely shot him a lot, and a lot of people slam those things, so they get kind of abused a little bit.
It also kind of reminded me a little bit of what you would want in the perfect carnival gun. You want something a little odd looking, a little unique, a little weird looking.
That's interesting. I was going to suggest that if there was no NFA and we could just play, and I would assume by now they would have come up with something besides lead. It's less expensive and less toxic, that we could shoot, cheaply, old steel or something, right? And exactly, if it was just like full autos, because they're not practical for almost anything except for having fun, and they're super fun and they're super practical for having fun. So P90 seems like if that ammo was inexpensive, like 22, or if you could make a 22 version of it, I guess that's a Calico. But that kind of a weird looking, high capacity, fun gun to shoot, yeah. I mean, that would be a fun. I could see that being like a Kel-Tec type of thing where people mod it out, or I guess a Ruger type of thing where people buy different stuff for it and they trick it out in different ways.
The P90 I got to shoot was from Federal Protective Services. They use them, and it was kind of hilarious seeing it in their patrol car because it's such a small. It's like, I don't know, when you see a patrol car, used to like the shotgun or the rifle in the fucking, in the rack. I mean, you know what I'm talking about, G. You have a cop car.
Yeah, it looks like it's missing a gun or something.
You get this little thing. It's just like clipped in there, and it's like tiny. It made like, I don't know, it looks like a Betamax tape or something, like sticking out.
I don't have any experience with this one. Pants was saying the UMP. It's an H&K UMP. I guess it's the newer MP5s or something.
It's a straight blowback, no roller delayed. I don't know if it fires from a closed or open bolt, but it's like it shares nothing in common with the MP5, other than it kind of, if you squint hard or drunk, it looks like one a little bit, but
Okay.
it has nothing in common. It's all plastic. But yeah, no roller delayed blowback, all that shit.
Yeah, but when Uncle Gov is paying for everything, you can start from scratch every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess. And H&K is going away from roller delay blowback because it was expensive and hard to do, and so now all the rifles are like more standard, where they used to be like different, but almost by principle. Now they're kind of like falling in line with everybody else.
All right. Well, that was what I wanted to accomplish so that Dano could ask his question, and then we could potentially fill in. I mean, we talked about the P90, which is technically a dang it, what was the damn word again?
PDW, personal defense weapon.
Thanks. So there's others, right? Which is now an intermediate. Is it an intermediate cartridge in a small package, or does it just mean something rifle and a pistol?
Well, I guess on the civilian side, what I'm actually seeing as products are pistol caliber, very short rifles.
That's what I'm thinking, like pistol caliber. Well, they're not short rifles; they're pistol caliber. The rifle caliber pistols, right? So
like the Ruger camp rifle that they brought back. That's a 9mm.
Oh no, you're calling that a PDW? That carbine?
That break apart one?
Yeah, I would call that a carbine. That's a
carbine.
Rifle.
The other one's
Right.
I got it. It's the HK MP7. That's the other one. They're basically like they try to get the largest velocity out of the smallest round, and put it into the smallest package. So you're trying to get as much velocity out of a tiny package as possible. It's basically
Well, that's what it is, right? It's capacity and velocity, which means narrow bullet, basically, versus, I guess, slowness and roundness from back in the 45, and then they were like transitioning to it with the 9s, going narrower and more capacity. But this is like the ultimate. You have to get a rifle amount of powder behind there, or at least more powder behind there to get it to go fast, right? And then, like you say, shove it into a little compact package. I also got the idea that it's for like tanks and I don't know, anybody that works inside, I guess, where you might need to be in fight, but you're probably not, right? So having a rifle and setting it down all the time is stupid, but you need more than a pistol probably, right? That's what a PDW is for. It's like somebody jumping in and out of a tank, or somebody running in and out of some weather station, or I don't know what the hell weird jobs people have to do.
So are you defining it having a rifle caliber or a pistol caliber?
I think it's intermediate, like an AK.
It's not either. It's a small high velocity. It looks like a
like a 223 or a 7.62x39.
But imagine it shrunk down. I don't know.
I mean, would a Crink be a PDW?
Jesus. Sure, I guess. I bet anything could be. I mean, that's what the M1 carbine was supposed to be.
Kind of was, but it was just so long that it's not really a. But the caliber-wise, it would have been.
Well, hell, it's compact compared to a Garand.
Well, and if you look at the folding stock paratrooper M1 carbine, now that's probably closer to a PDW, right?
Yeah, except for it sucked. But yeah, if you ever messed around with one, they're awful.
So there are manufacturers saying that they have PDWs, and basically they're an AR and 9mm.
Okay, well, anybody can say anything they want.
Well,
right, and that's why I just want to clarify what we're talking about, because I'm not sure what we're talking about.
Well, it's for intermediate distance also, right? So it's for somebody who might need to engage, not at distance, but at like longer than pistol distance. So I think a part of an aspect or a characteristic of a PDW is a stock. So if you can take an AR pistol or an AR pistol and shoulder the brace, then that's in effect a PDW, right?
I don't know. That's just a short-barreled rifle. The PDW thing didn't really come about, like that name that I know of, until the MP7 and the P90.
Yeah, the P90. But
and the MP7 is also got a weird little neck down. Like if you look at the cartridges, they're like small, like neck down. I don't even know what to call them. Like you can't really call it. It's not really a rifle round. It's not really a pistol round. So those are the only two true that I know of PDWs, and that's kind of where the name came from. Like yeah, the caliber of the H&K MP7 is 4.6 by 30. So I mean that's a weird little freaking bullet. But you can call anything a PDW, just like you could call, the MP40 a machine pistol. You can pretty much call anything you want, but it doesn't make it so. A lot of
I
gray
just
area
meant for the purposes of our discussion.
So then let's go back to your question that we were kind of prefacing all this with, and I stuck the PDWs into. So you were saying, which one would you grab and go with today?
Yes.
You run into an armory, you've got all the options in front of you with fully loaded mags and all the kit. Which one are we grabbing? So we go backwards. Damn. If I had anything in front of me, I'd probably go with the medium Uzi, the mini Uzi. It's 9mm, so you get ammo anywhere. Mags, I'm screwing myself on mags because they're stupid old-fashioned goopy mags, but I'm hopefully grabbing as many as I need. And I think it's a solid little gun. It has the advantage of being lighter than its big brother, but and it's a Uzi. It's like won wars and stuff, right? It's a freaking Uzi. That's what I'm going with. So then PBR.
I don't know. I guess in real life, probably a MP5A2. If it was Red Dawn, Carl Gustav M45, because that'd just be cool as shit. But the Cold War's over, so.
Nice strike.
You know what? I'm gonna just say probably the Thompson. If it's a Red Dawn thing, the Thompson. If it's modern, probably I wouldn't go with the MP5. I'd go with something like the VC61.
You went from something from the 50s and then something from the 50s.
Something from the 40s.
No, you went from something from the World War I and then something from the Cold War.
I'm seeing
Why not?
There was a period of Bugs Bunny. There's like a series of Bugs Bunny where the bad guy is a gangster. So I'm seeing Night Strike in that gangster cartoon guy's hat and this Thompson gun, like.
I believe it.
Don't joke about that.
Did you say cartoon what? Dano? What were you going to answer that?
I would say I'm going to give you a split the baby here right in half, and it's ugly, but it's going to have to happen. Of the guns I've shot, I'd have to go with the Thompson. But I haven't shot a lot of the guns. I've heard a lot of good things, so I'm going to put a little faith in somebody that I like and I have faith in, and that's a Pabst Blue Ribbon, and go with the full-size Uzi.
What?
I don't think you'd go wrong with an Uzi, man. I mean, an Uzi.
You wouldn't go wrong with an Uzi.
It's just super heavy. I mean, 7 pounds. It just seems dense. It's not.
Yeah, but
it's got the sling.
They're picking like a 12-pound. It's lighter than a 12-pound Thompson gun.
Yeah.
And it's way shorter, and it's practical, and like
it's got collapsible stock.
How many ARs weigh less than 7 pounds?
Mine.
No, it's better than an AR for the role we're talking, right? I think so.
Well, I know. I'm just using it as a point of comparison.
Also, PBR doesn't stand for freaking Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Hey, in the world, in the 1970s, when I grew up, it stands for Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Anno lived so close to Wisconsin, like that's.
I'm not gonna even go into the fact that it's a reference from a movie about Vietnam.
And that's okay, because I don't want to know what it stands for, because it might be something personal and I might accidentally let it out. So
Patrol Boat River. That's what it stands for.
Okay.
No.
Oh yeah, driving the boat up river in.
No, this is what it stands for right here. That's what it
snap.
stands for.
He gets
Right,
extra.
right, Dano. I'm right
Yep.
there with you.
PBR.
Right there with you.
All right, whatever. Moving on.
It existed long before Vietnam.
I want to watch you guys like freaking breathing heavy, trying to carry your freaking 12-pound Thompsons up a hill. I'll be up there laughing with
I
G.
dropped it. I dropped it.
I
I left
put
it stock
faith.
behind. I don't have a stock.
There's
behind.
slings. I'll use slings. I'll be
This
fine.
is the payback I get for putting faith in you. I just want you to realize that I'm recognizing this
You took it
debauchery.
easy. He's talking about Night Strike, not you. So Pink said if Dana went to the bullpup shoot, which is in Illinois over by Iowa, you could have shot the PS90. So
Why isn't Pink in here? He's an old dude.
Yeah.
I have a link to Pink. I'm pretty
And-
sure I
and-
have Pink.
And I do have to say that I held one at a gun store prior to the one that was here 2 years ago, and I didn't care for just holding it.
Which one?
The PS90.
Oh yeah,
Now, it was not full auto; it was a semi-auto, but
Oh, it's goofy and it takes a little time. It definitely, I didn't like it until a couple of friends of mine owned the short barrel rifle versions and we could play with them out in the desert and shoot steel.
that experience turned me off to bullpups in general.
Oh no, I can show
What
you.
are we holding it upside down, getting freaking ammo in the face or cases in the face? What are we doing?
So
I mean,
that's
I'll take
actually
a short barrel rifle any day of the week.
that thing is almost the nice. I would have to think, but I think it might be the nicest bullpup to shoot. Really,
It was, yeah. I didn't realize it ejected out of the pistol grip until I almost got a handful of or a pocket full of brass.
so.
Yeah, it's
Going off of what Pink said, if you went on to the bullpup shoot, so that is a once-a-year thing put on by, I think, Manticore Arms, and at least they are a big part of it. And then they have an open kind of meet and greet. You can hang out and see the vendors that participate in making the thing possible. And it's at a really nice range in the middle of nowhere. And you go down the hill to where the line is, the firing line. It's more than one, I think. And you could shoot. I didn't go down to the firing line and shoot, but Pink did. And really cool place, really cool place. But in addition to that, we've talked about in the past going on some sort of vacation when we talked about airplanes or boats or whatever we were talking about in prior shows. Would you go to a Vegas or somewhere similar? Because I'm sure there's more than that now. I know there's some in Florida and there's others, but would you go to one of these, not just a range with rental guns, but like the kind of place where they have so many fancy rental guns that you buy like a package, and for like, let's say $200, they're going to give you a mag out of 6 or 8 different sub guns. Is that something you'd go do, or would you spend the money elsewhere? If it's going to cost you something like, let's say, probably realistically $200 to $250, $200 to $250, would you pay for that opportunity to shoot, I don't know, 6 to 10 sub guns, or would you pass?
I've done it, and I do it again as long as I had some guns that I had not shot before.
honestly, I'd rather, I have bucket lists that I haven't gotten to handle yet, and I'd rather just have, like, instead of 6 to 10, I'd rather just have like 6 to 10 magazines with the one that I've been looking for.
Oh, that's interesting. So if but still, you'd pay to do that. You'd
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, Carl. I really want to fire a Carl Gustav M45 because it's like the Navy SEAL submachine gun from Vietnam. I mean, I don't know. It's a really ugly but cool firearm, and it's one of the ones I really want to get my hands on. And
I'd love to shoot the Uzi and the Max series, and probably a third one that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. But yeah,
and then Night Strike.
I want to shoot them all. But,
somebody was there.
But I was there when Dano shot the grease gun. I did do a video of that. So check that out if you want.
Yeah,
It didn't cost you guys $200 to shoot there that day, did it?
No, but I wanted to shoot some guns, but the problem was I was on a budget. I mean, like a super tight budget, so I couldn't shoot any of the full autos.
I can't remember for sure, but I want to say it was either $20, $25, or $30 for a 20-round mag. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it was about that. I couldn't afford that.
Okay,
I mean,
that's not too bad. I thought because you didn't shoot much, and if you really paid $200 for that, I would have been like, what? But you didn't pay that much then.
Oh. But remember, we also did regular shooting because a lot of other people brought guns and whatnot. So I got to shoot a little bit anyways. But I didn't bring anything with me on the plane. And this next time, I'm hoping that if I do go to a Wanamaker and we do another range day, I am going to bring some guns. So.
Right on. Pomade is saying at Knob Creek, which is the big machine gun shoot that's held in Kentucky, and it's exposition shoot to some extent, like hobbyists and gun owners bring their guns, and I don't know how they deal. They probably rent space on the firing line to shoot together like that, and it's been going on for decades probably. They'll get together and they'll shoot, and there's bleachers from what I understand, or at least there's places for spectators to watch, the goings on of a bunch of people that own machine guns really, to just blow away a bunch of stuff out in the field in the middle of Kentucky. So he's saying at Knob Creek there were rental guns between $25 and $35 a mag. Then they offer a 2-mag package at a discount rate. 2 mags in the lower end were $40, so you got like $10 off, and the others were something, you get some kind of discount for buying multiple mags. So there's that kind of opportunity to kind of shoot a bunch. But then it's weird. It's not like what Dano and Night Strike are talking about. At that point, we were at a range where I don't know if P226 Nut, if he rented that bay or if he just had privileges to it because he's a member. But he
had privileges to it.
So we just had this bay that they might use for training or for some competition if they were doing an event there, but there's nobody there, so we were just using, or you guys were just using this bay. And then one of the people who's affiliated with the facility came out with their, I don't remember if it was their private collection or if it was the property of the range, but basically they brought out rentals for you guys to choose from in the back of a pickup type of situation. You didn't have to go like pick them on a wall, right? They just brought them out to you.
No, we actually went into the vault and picked.
Oh, I missed all that. I wasn't there for that. So that's kind of neat. So they just had a big assortment. You go in there, you point at the ones you want to shoot. They oil them up and take them out.
You point which one, and then you just tell them how many rounds of 20 do you want, because that's how they do everything in rounds of 20. And that's also an easier way for them to figure out how much to charge, because, again, I forget how much it is, 20, 25, 30 times however many mags you want.
Now, Pomade, do you remember how many they were putting in the mags at Knob Creek? Were they full capacity, 30 round, whatever, 35, whatever mags, or were they like at a set rate? It makes sense to make it 20 because it's probably like a box. So did you guys feel like it was worth the experience?
Here, I'm going to screen share for a second.
You're going to screen share, huh?
Yeah.
You're talking about
these are some of the guns that were in the vault. They let me take pictures.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and that's only one part of the wall.
That's only one wall.
Could you possibly flip through them faster? Oh, great. Now it's over. So I don't know what the hell that big one is. That's what?
That one?
Yeah, and there's 2 levels, a lower level and an upper level.
Is that a Dishka?
I'm going to have a seizure.
No, that's a...
Oh, it is, I think.
Yeah, it's a Dishka.
And then it's got an AK something or another next to it. And then it's got, I don't know, because so-and-so can't.
That looks like a
Night Strike doesn't know how to hold down the control key on his keyboard and use the scroll feature of his mouse in order to zoom the photograph. Enhance.
Enhance.
Looks like that's a 240, but not the 240. It looks like the whatever the British, the FN European version of it. Maybe no, that's not a 240. I don't know what that is.
I'm guessing that wasn't a 20 round mag shooting through that guy.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, and some of the mags were either awaiting a part or two or awaiting a cleaning. They had been used, so they weren't ready to be re-rented yet, because they take them apart and clean them each time.
Yeah, that probably makes a lot of sense. Those aren't guns that you just go buy spare parts at the M16 store or whatever.
Right.
And now it's the opposite. Now he won't move the picture. There's like 3 guns in that picture. We talked about all of them. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Bunch of AKs. Oh, this is further down that same wall. It looks like.
Oh no,
no, it's before. It's before because you can see the handlebars on the, or not the handlebars, but the.
But he refused to take a full picture of all the guns on the upper rack.
Yeah,
and the racks were on the left and the right hand side of the room, just not on the one side.
There were so many people in the damn vault. I couldn't do that.
How weird is it that they got their stuff muzzled down? Is that just me, or does that seem super weird to you?
Oh yeah, and that gun
it is a bit weird.
That gun I thought was a. I can see it now. The gun I thought was a 240, which is not the PKM.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it right there. You can see the stock now.
Yeah, they did have a fair assortment of what to me is foreign guns.
I would have shot that PKM. Or no, did you guys shoot it and it wasn't really a PKM? Or did you guys specifically choose the one that wasn't a PKM?
I don't know.
Or no, it was an RPD. There was like one that looked like an RPD or something, and then it wasn't. It was some weird version before RPD or something, he said.
It was one of those automatic shotguns, but it was missing a piece, it looked like.
Wow.
On the last, not this one, but the last.
It's
those are the only pictures I've got.
Go back one, then, whatever that last one was you went to.
This one?
Next, there, you can see it. That isn't that full auto shotgun right there? But it's
no, that's a.
That's a USAS-12.
That's that Korean, yeah.
Oh yeah.
USAS-12.
USAS-12 with just the upper though.
Yeah.
Weird.
But like you say,
why would you take it apart? But who knows?
Maybe
they might only
repairing it.
Maybe they only own a piece of it. You know, sometimes if you come across something, you're like, hell yeah, I'll buy 30% of that gun.
In fact, that's right. That's one. The room it's in is one of those vault rooms. In fact, what you're looking at is the frame of the vault door on the left-hand side.
Oh yeah, Night Strike. Like 90% of the rest of the pictures are just like the specs of the door and like the combination and like this where the security cameras are.
No, not at all. I didn't want to get in trouble.
That's pretty cool though. So I'm glad that look at all those M16s that they didn't choose, and I'm proud of them. They all picked wooden guns with metal on them and stuff.
But that's because I shot plenty of those M16s before, and I needed to shoot something different. I didn't know I was going to get to rent machine guns.
But all them other people also decided, nah, let's go shoot something else. So that was cool.
Yeah. Well, I was in the Army. I had plenty of time to shoot that stuff.
The first gun John Z fired when we were at this range was one of those M16s.
Oh well, I didn't get there till the end, so I didn't see that.
No, you're right. I forgot that he was there, and he did get to shoot the machine guns.
Yeah, and the first gun he fired in his life was the M16. And that I thought that was pretty cool, considering he's from New York. You can't. It's hard to get guns there, because he lives in the city, and he got to fire an M16 first.
Is it legal to talk? Is it legal to talk on the internet about a New Yorker having fun with a firearm, even if it was in another state?
Probably not.
I don't know. We'll have to talk to Rob D.
Get him in trouble. So Pants is saying he's actually heard it's best to store wooden stocked guns muzzled down so that oil doesn't drip back and soak into the stock and eventually turn it into mush. Anybody heard of that?
No.
I've never heard of that. No.
I mean, for long term, that might be a thing. But I can tell you from some of the guns I've seen that have been in like long term storage, the stock and the barrel are taken apart and then stacked separately. I don't know if that has something to do with that.
I don't know why because they had they had guns with wood stocks that were the other way around, so
it might be some indication of what needs to be cleaned or what's ready to shoot.
Yeah,
that's probably the status of what could be rented.
Multiple people using it, yeah, it's like a status. Who knows? Yeah, it's probably inventory control or something. What was I gonna say? Gun shop of the day.
I think we just saw it.
That was a range, so I guess we can talk about that range. So if you're in the Tulsa area, north of town, there's a public range, I guess, that you can.
It's not a police station.
Well, that's a whole other thing. So then you can go in there, though. You don't have to be a member. In other words, you can just go in for the day and pay to shoot and use the range, right? You don't have to be a member of the club.
I'm not so sure. And maybe we get a discount because we still paid because we were with a member. But I don't know if the general public can just go straight in.
Well, that's interesting. So I don't know either. I had a little trouble finding the place.
You had a little trouble, all right.
And once I did, I didn't care, and I just went in there. So I figured I couldn't get any more trouble just going through and finding the place where you guys were. So anyway, I'm trying my new robot cigarette, and it's some sort of a fruity flavor. It's killing me.
That was the U.S. Shooting Academy?
I was going to say, it's something like called, it sounds official. It sounds just like a police station, like the U.S. shooting range or something.
I think it was the U.S. Shooting Academy.
And then it's a nice range. I got a bunch of pictures of it. I think I posted them somewhere. I know I posted them on my Instagram a little bit, but it was manicured. Like the grass was all mowed nicely. And
did you hear what that Nice Strike said?
What?
United States Shooting Academy is what it was.
Yes. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
And then nice roofs over all the things. To me, I don't like it when ranges point south. What do you guys think? Those ranges were pointing south. Maybe that's just an issue for us out here, or is that an issue so much up north?
Not really.
I think it has to do with the location of the road and surrounding property.
I know it always does, but I'm just saying, when I have ranges that point south, it bothers me because it's sunny all day and I don't like it. When they point north, I like it. We have Ben Avery here, it points north, so it, like all day long, you're shooting, you don't have to worry about the sun, it's not an issue. Then we got our range in Tucson points west, so by about 3 in the afternoon, you're just looking at the sun. You can't even see your targets by evening.
Yeah. Well, I prefer not to shoot first thing in the morning or the end of the day, but you get what you get.
Well, most people shoot either end of the day or beginning of the day at a range, just FYI.
My range shoots east, so.
See, that's horrible, because then in the morning, unless you got trees and stuff, I guess. But
I got trees.
Okay. Well, you're talking about your house. You're talking about your
I'm talking about my backyard, yeah.
Yeah, okay, whatever. So anyway, otherwise, I think it was a nice range. And I don't think, maybe it's not such a big deal in Oklahoma. Maybe that's far enough north where that's not a thing. It didn't seem like there was a lot of trees. There wasn't a lot of shade there. But anyway, from what we could see, the only thing is it was only those porta sheds or porta shitters, like the plastic outhouse things. For as nice as it was, I was kind of surprised they didn't have like an outbuilding with regular, at least some kind of rest areas.
There was, in the clubhouse, there was regular restroom facilities, as well as there was a fire pit along with a place for probably 15, 20 people to sit down and converse.
There were tables too.
Yeah.
So they had a nice setup.
But that was all on the inside of the main clubhouse versus out at the ranges.
But that would have been a hike if you got to pee or poop or something. I wouldn't want to walk all the way back.
No, it wasn't that far.
That was a long way if you got to poop.
Well, maybe from where you originally parked it was.
No,
this has really turned into old man chat, hasn't it?
This is real life adventures and shooting. None of this glorified. We never poop those business.
Maybe two, maybe 3 minutes tops to get to the main building.
From where you guys were, but think about how big. We're talking about the whole range now. That range extended way down to the end of that parking lot where the other porta shitter was, and then there was a road that went down to a whole bunch of other ones. And those
get in your car, drive to the main building, do what you got to do, get back in your car, drive back to your range. You're done.
Drive into poop.
Oh my God!
Not all of us are that crazy. I'm not. I'd rather. I don't know what, but I'm still saying I'm just surprised. It's such a fancy.
This is their website.
It's such a fancy range. I just assumed that they'd have some kind of facility out there for those remote ranges. But maybe they didn't. I just didn't see it. I don't know. So anyhow, that was our gun shop of the day. We try to feature. Oh, I forgot your click on it. We try to feature a gun shop every day. It's part of the reason we do the show on a daily basis. And today it's a range out in the middle of, well, north of Tulsa. Oh, there's a good shot. So that's that building. Can you enhance? Enhance.
I will open a new.
Right click. There you go. Look, it's like,
there we go.
Now, look at this. Look at this. Just like 24. Ding.
Enhance. Zoomify.
All right. So yeah, see how there's that giant building. That's where Dano's suggesting everyone's going to run over to poop. and then that big ass parking lot is where where I parked.
And
then
100 feet between the building and the parking lot is where you got to park.
If you can see my cursor, we were shooting in this lane right here.
No, you weren't. You were over behind that building.
We were in the far right.
Far right one.
This one.
So,
yes.
No, we weren't in this one. We were in this one.
No, you weren't. You were in the far right one.
We were all the way on the right-hand side.
Yes, behind that building. So anyway, so that's how big the range is. And it goes all the way to the left over there. And then there's stuff to the far left that's not even in this picture. There's like a lake, and then there's like stuff on the other side of that lake.
Yeah, there's more lanes.
Oklahoma, and what's interesting about
there's supposed to be a holding facility for people of unknown nature.
What?
A jail.
So I find what's interesting, though, is look how flat it is, right? It's Oklahoma prairie or whatever, so it's all built up berm. It's kind of interesting.
The entrance is right there. That's where we walked in, right there.
They got any other pictures then?
Yeah, it's on the website. I gotta go zoom back out. Who knows? Hold on. There we go. On their main website, USShootingAcademy.mobi.
Oh, they got a gun shop inside. I didn't know that.
Yeah. They did mention that they were going to get into guns. They were doing guns as well.
But that's not all rentals. Those were for sale.
Those were for sale, yes.
Yeah. And those guns were there several years ago when we first went there, because I was there both the first and the second time. They were selling guns.
Yeah.
That's not new.
Both Foos and non-Foos.
Well, Foos did show up, in April when I went, but again, he didn't show up until day of Tulsa, day of Wanamaker. There we go. Oh, what else? They're doing memberships, classes, and training and matches.
I just thought of another submachine gun I want to shoot that I got the handle, but I didn't get to fire it.
What's that?
The Suomi?
No, an M50 Reising.
Yeah, the Reising is a good one.
Where's that from?
U.S.
World War II.
Got a bad reputation and got a lot of them ended up in the ocean, but it was.
I shot one of these with Iraqi veteran. He has one, and we were out there and. What the hell? He had just got it or something? Or no, they were doing, at the time, they were just got their like little range set up with that big piece of railroad tie or whatever. So they were doing a video with it. And there's an Iraq veteran video of me holding it and shooting it.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it.
It's from 2012.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, they're neat. What? They were full auto and made by Reising, which is a cool dude. And then 45 ACP, which is awesome, and select fire. And I guess the idea was right. You'd give it to a Marine, and if he had to like lay into a cave in like the Pacific Theater, he would flip it to full auto, push this thing around the corner, and empty the mag. Put a new mag in, flip it to semi-auto, and go in. I think that was the way I heard it described.
Yeah, you just can't swap parts in between them, and that's what led to them becoming problematic. Is that everybody would clean their parts and mix their parts up together, and
each gun is fit to itself.
To a degree, but there's a bunch of I don't remember the history of why they were problematic, but they'd have issues, like pretty bad issues, and then a lot of Marines ended up chucking them in the ocean. They're used. The only campaign that I know of that they're used extensively in was Guadalcanal. And as soon as guys got Thompsons, they got rid of the Reisings. But it sure does look cool. And honestly, if handling it, it feels nice. It's like a nice stock.
It seems a lot like the Ruger 9mm that Dan was talking about before.
Or the like a full auto version of that Marlin.
Right. Was it the Marlin that had the camp carbine or the Ruger?
That's Marlin. It's the camp carbine.
Does anybody have an H&R, like a 22 or something, or an H&R gun?
Yeah, I do.
So what's cool about them is they're made by H&R. So it's almost like you're holding your 22, except, it's fatter, so it's 45. But, the wood and everything, it's like got that quality consistency. It's like just like holding your H&R 22.
It's kind of a shame they had so many problems. Also, it's got the charging handle in a weird spot underneath the front grip. It's kind of a weird spot, but it makes it nice and slick, so you don't have anything sticking out of it.
So you mentioned that they were dishing them in favor of the Thompson out in the Pacific War. Was the Thompson reasonably successful in the sand environment?
Yeah, I think the Thompson could. I think it had better manufacturing.
Island sand and Iraqi sand.
Well, it sucks that the. I think it was just some manufacturing problems with the Reising that made it unreliable. It wasn't a bad weapon. It just couldn't be. You couldn't mix up parts easily. It had to be like gunsmith if you're mixing parts up. I guess I don't know. I shouldn't be speaking, but about something I'm not 100% sure about. But I got the guy that I know that has the MP38s and 40s has a buddy that's got a Reising and brought it into the gun shop while I was there, and it was pretty cool. It's just nice. It feels like it, like G was saying, it's like a H&R rifle, but way cooler. Like it's just that wood stock and the metal, and I don't know. It's really nice.
Have you guys seen this guy's channel? I don't know how to say it.
No, I've never heard of it.
Oh my goodness. So here's a little extra tidbit today. This will be our featured channel. So I'm going to drop the link to his channel in here for everybody. This is
it's a blind guy. Yeah, I know this guy.
Blind dude, and he does the best videos. Like, just I don't watch review videos, but I watch this guy's review videos. They're like, I don't know. I don't watch In Range, but I've seen Carl go at it when he's like nerding out on guns. This guy is every bit as good as Carl, nerding out on guns, but just cool as shit because he's totally blind. So I'm dropping a link out here for everybody. I think I've talked about him before, but anyway, I just noticed that he's got a video of the Reising. So if we want to hear about a Reising, I'd say that's 37 minutes. You're going to learn about a Reising right there.
Nice. Yeah, it looks like a civilian version of it.
And look, he's got a Thompson right there.
Nice.
So he's going to do some comparisons. I was going to throw out there that, Reising is one of the people I put in the deck. He's pretty cool. So born in 1884, right? And then World War II was what, 1940s? So he lived till 67. Anyway, he did some stuff, but then he worked for Colt, and he worked with Ruger. He worked with Browning on the development of 1911. So he's of the age of Browning designing the 1911, right? So his gun, the Reising, is of that. And that's what you're saying, like, the interchangeable parts and that. It's like back in the days of crafting guns. There were still interchangeable parts and everything, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they come from metal down instead of machining outwards or whatever, So he's back in the early development of it or whatever. So I'm not saying his rifle was doomed. It's just that Thompson was still reminiscent of that, it seems like, but it was never going to compete with stamped guns and that kind of stuff that we'd see after. Or in 1855 for crying out, or 1884. That went all over. So that was the gun shop of the day turned into gun
of the day.
Turned into a new featured channel. So Night Strike just had a show. He's not doing nothing until next Tuesday. You're not doing abortion next Tuesday, are you?
I'm doing hit or miss. Tuesday night's not long.
I'll leave that one just laid there, and I'll just let other people make their own, take that one where they want. But yeah, Sandhills is doing abortion for his topic next week on his show. You'll have a show next week. Are you going to bring the people in, invite everybody from SHOT?
I will invite anybody who wants to jump in. If they're at SHOT, come on in.
That'll be after the first day of walking the floor and stuff. So some people may or may not be at places, but you might be able to catch people while they're Ubering between or whatever. So consider sending out links to texts, right? Text links to people and make it a lot easier on their phones or whatever. And then,
Okay.
well, all right, don't. I'm just telling you.
No, I said okay.
Thursday, we'll be meeting up with all the people that are going to SHOT and scheduling some stuff. So if you want to join us for an earlier show on Thursday, and then I guess we'll see everybody tomorrow. So what's tomorrow? Thursday? Oh, shit. No, wait. Tomorrow's Wednesday. So tomorrow will be Rick. It'll be
Tomorrow will be Rick and Matt.
I think that's it. And then we'll be back here same time.
Yep, it's the Rainbow Coalition on Wednesdays.
I wasn't sure. No, that's Thursdays, Dan. I wasn't, or wait. No, I don't know what you're talking about. So our
Never can tell with never enough ammo.
yeah, his Monday shows are weirder than his Wednesday shows, though. I guess that's not true. Anyhow, so I wasn't sure if we were going to be able to carry a whole show about subguns. So thanks, guys, for making it interesting. Hopefully people out there thought it was. Give us some feedback. There's email address, dailygunshow@gmail.com. I have a poll, I guess, a poll over on Patreon. So if you're one of the Patreon people, I think it's actually locked to Patreons. So I figure if you are paying for what we're doing over here, paying for our time, give us some direction on what you'd like us to see us do. And we'll see you tomorrow.